You know what stopped me in my tracks this week? Just wow.
Let me guess. Pope Leo XIV.
Exactly. Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost from the U.S., elected Pope, the first American ever. It's pretty historic.
It really is a watershed moment. And for this deep dive, we've been, looking through all the initial reports, trying to really get a handle on what this all means.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this because it feels huge. There's so much to think about.
Definitely.
So we should probably start with the election itself, right? The conclave, what we can figure out from the choice they made.
Mm-hmm. And then the name Leo XIV. That jumped out immediately. We need to talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. The weight of that name, the history it brings up, and the reactions, too. Seen quite a mix already.
All over the place, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll cover those. And finally, look at what we actually know about his positions, his past statements, to get maybe a sense of where he might be headed.
Sounds like a plan. We're ready to jump in.
Let's do it. So the election, he's 69, Cardinal Prevost, elected by the cardinals, in secret conclave after Pope Francis passed.
Right. That was Thursday. So Friday, May 9th, 2025. That was his first official full day.
And you kick it off with that first private mass in the Sistine Chapel. 11 a.m. local time.
Yeah, I saw that was broadcast live, that first homily. Everyone was watching that one closely.
And what's interesting is what the experts, the Vatican watchers, are saying.
That's the consensus.
Well, the general feeling seems to be soft continuity, like continuing Pope Francis' more progressive path, but maybe, gently.
Okay, so not a sharp turn.
No, they're calling him a moderate consensus candidate, someone who can sort of bridge the gaps, not alienate the more conservative wing too much.
That fits with his recent job, doesn't it? Head of the dicastery for bishops.
Exactly. That's a powerful spot. They vet all the bishop nominations. So he wasn't some outsider.
No, clearly a major player. Suggests Pope Francis maybe saw him as, potential successor material.
Seems likely. And look at the path Francis set him on. Sent him to a tricky diocese in Peru back in 2014.
Right, I remember reading that.
Then brings him to the Vatican in 2023, makes him a cardinal not long after. It feels, intentional.
Yeah, like grooming him almost. And didn't he oversee that reform, the one involving women?
He did, adding 3 women to the group that actually votes on bishop nominations.
That's pretty notable. Definitely hints at maybe an openness to change, to different perspectives.
It certainly suggests that. Okay, so the election points towards continuity, perhaps moderation.
No, the name, Leo XIV. That feels like a statement, a big one.
Oh, absolutely deliberate. The Vatican even said it was a clear and deliberate nod to Pope Leo III.
Leo III, elected way back in 1878, and he's famous for Rerum Novarum, right?
That's the one,
Yeah.
1891. His encyclical on workers' rights.
Things like fair wages, safe conditions, the right to form unions. That was huge for its time.
Truly transformative. So choosing Leo, it strongly suggests Pope Leo XIV might focus on similar things. Social justice, labor issues, that sort of area.
Huh. So maybe like a workers' pope. We had Francis as the people's pope. Interesting angle.
It does make you wonder, yeah. What are the big worker issues today he might tackle? Technology, gig economy, inequality.
Right. The name itself is loaded with meaning. And historically, haven't popes named Leo often been seen as, reformers, more on the progressive side?
Generally, yes. That name carries a certain historical weight in that direction.
Okay, so a significant name choice. How's the world taking all this in? The reactions must be coming thick and fast.
They really are, and quite varied. Leaders from all over sending congratulations.
Anyone stand out?
Well, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. from the Philippines.
Yeah.
Huge Catholic population there. He specifically hoped the new pope would continue to bring the church closer to the poor.
That focus on social justice again, it resonates globally.
It does. And then, of course, the reaction in the U.S., his home country.
Must be huge excitement there. First American pope.
Oh, yeah. Especially Chicago, where he was born. The mayor, Brandon Johnson, tweeted about the local pride.
I bet.
And former President Obama, also from Chicago, sent congrats as a fellow Chicagoan. It adds that personal connection,
Yeah, that makes sense. What about President Trump?
He expressed some surprise, apparently, but called it a great honor for the country. So, seems the historic nature is recognized across the board.
And the media.
U.S. media is definitely playing up the historic angle. A pope from a global superpower, that's a new dynamic.
True. And in Chicago itself.
Sounds like pure joy. Holy Name Cathedral, his home cathedral, the rector there, said it was like winning a major sports championship. Just spontaneous celebration.
Wow. That really paints a picture. Now, Peru, he spent a lot of time there, decades.
Over 20 years.
Yeah.
To live there, worked there, even became a Peruvian citizen.
So how did Peru react?
Oh, huge celebrations. President Dina Boluarte called him Peruvian by choice and conviction. Cathedral bells ringing in Lima. Real pride.
That must mean a lot there. Did he acknowledge it?
He did. In his very first appearance, he actually spoke a little Spanish, specifically mentioned his old diocese in Peru.
Nice touch. Really cements that connection.
And it goes beyond Peru. Across Latin America, really. They see him as the second pope from the region after Francis, even though he's U.S. born.
So that connection is felt widely. It reinforces that global image of the church.
Absolutely. Leadership coming from different parts of the world.
Okay, so the reactions are fascinating. History, pride, anticipation. Which leads us to, what does he actually stand for? What have his early comments been like, and what do we know from before?
Well, his first public words were very much about unity, moving forward, hope for peace. Fairly standard initial papal messages, setting a conciliatory tone.
Right, you'd expect that. But what about specifics? Has anything else surfaced?
There's been talk about an X account, thought to be his.
Oh, what's on it?
Some posts showing criticism of the Trump administration's immigration policies, highlighting articles questioning stances from figures like J.D. Vance. One post apparently quoted something like, "Jesus doesn't ask us to rank our love for others."
Interesting. That suggests a definite viewpoint on immigration.
And his brother seems to back that up. John Prevost told the media his brother is very unhappy with what's going on with immigration currently and isn't one to, hold back his opinions.
So maybe continuing Francis's strong stance on migrants and refugees.
Could well be. But then you also have to look at some of his more, let's say, traditional stances.
Okay, important to get the full picture. What else do we know?
Well, there's a 2012 address, back when he was still Father Prevost. In it, he apparently criticized homosexuality, abortion, and euthanasia, called them at odds with the gospel.
Right, so aligning with traditional church teaching on those social issues.
Seems so. And on women's ordination, he's voiced opposition. Said last year in 2023 that he doesn't think it would solve problems, might even create new ones. Very much in line with Pope Francis on that specific point.
Okay, so it's a bit of a mix, isn't it?
It really is. You have this apparent continuity on social justice, maybe immigration, hinted at by the name Leo as well, but then clear alignment with traditional doctrine on things like sexuality, role of women.
How he balances those, or maybe integrates them, that's going to be fascinating to watch. It raises a lot of questions for his papacy.
Definitely underscores the complexity. He's not easily pigeonholed, it seems. The name choice, Leo XIV, with that link to social action, just adds another layer of intrigue.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive then. We've seen this truly historic moment. Robert Francis Prevost, first U.S. Pope, taking the name Leo XIV.
A name choice that immediately evokes Pope Leo XIII and that whole legacy of focusing on workers' rights, social justice.
We've looked at the reactions, the excitement in the U.S., the deep connection felt in Peru and Latin America, the global attention.
And we've tried to piece together his potential direction from early comments and past statements. It suggests a path that might blend progressive social concerns with adherence to traditional teachings.
It feels like we're looking at the start of a papacy that will definitely engage with today's big social questions, perhaps in that Leo III spirit, but also hold firm on established doctrine.
Exactly. How those two threads weave together, that's the big question mark.
So maybe here's something for you, the listener, to think about. What difference does it make, really, having a pope from a global superpower, from the United States? How might that background, combined with everything we know about his views, his chosen name, how might all that shape his leadership? And maybe, what parts of his papacy do you think will end up having the biggest impact on the church? And maybe even the wider world? Feels like we're just at the beginning of finding out.